Alright, we're back. As I explained to you, we live the ancient paths, so we don't have the grid and all that stuff. The Western U.S. grid. So, we're gonna continue on the sugar talk, and I'm gonna have a person who's with me continue on.
So we were talking about an article on CNN that came out November 14th. That's called "Nearly All Toddlers and the Majority of Babies Eat Too Much Added Sugar in the U.S." Study says. Like we already mentioned, that we really don't want to be giving our children sugar. And it's, first of all, especially as sugar is classified as pharmakeia in Scripture, and also because from experience we know that children respond to sugar just like addicts. It's addictive, and children respond just like drug addicts do. So I just wanted to summarize this article for you all. It says that 98% of toddlers and 2/3 of infants consume added sugars each day. And the American Heart Association, which we don't give any authority to, but as a reference, recommends that children under 2 eat no added sugar. Okay, just like. Go ahead.
Thank you. If you heard that, no added sugar. When you think about that, when you really understand that aligns with Scripture. A person will look at sugar for their diet and say, oh, maybe I'll just, I'll cut 5 grams a day, or I won't eat like 5 ice cream bars a day. Instead, I'll just eat, 1 ice cream sandwich a day, or I'll just eat just half the amount of ice cream I eat, or I'm not going to eat so much preserves. Instead, I'll do something else. When you think about that, all these things have added sugar. A lot of people think, okay, I'm not eating sugar because I'm not dumping sugar in my Kool-Aid. I'm not dumping sugar in my tea. They think, oh, I'm not drinking sugar. Well, sugar is in just about everything you eat if you get eating processed foods. And so when you look at that, they recommend that a toddler should have 0 sugar a day. But when you really think about that, Torah is basically, if you study effects of sugars, it does have the effects of a drug. And Torah is basically calling drugs witchcraft. And we do know that in sorcery and in witchcraft, there is a particular portion of witchcraft which is called sorcery, in which people use drugs to get high. And when they get high, they use it to talk to other entities and go and travel the spirit realm and all sorts of things, using shrooms and cocaine and meth and acid and all kinds of other stuff like that. And if you ever, as a child, if you were in your 40s or maybe your 50s, as a child, if you ever went to the dentist, had your teeth drilled in, and they gave you the ether, and then you saw that little man shooting darts at you, fire, burning your soul slow, like Nas says. Okay, that is why if you saw that little man, and I know somebody sitting here that when he got that teeth clean and had that anesthesia where they were giving ether, probably saw that little man. That is a demon. And if it's not a demon, it is the devil. And so it is because the ether is pharmakeia, is witchcraft, and when that substance is purified to an extent where all other biological agents are taken out, and it's just a raw biochemical form, it performs biochemical processes on the brain, and that unlock the body, so that it's like basically shutting down a computer, and you get manual override to where certain processes are on the computer work, so that you can just put in straight code and manipulate the system. Okay, and so it's like hacking. Okay, it hacks your body so that your soul and your spirit are open. And so that's what this pharmakeia, when people take it, they start seeing stuff like that. And that is the proof that says hallucination. Ain't no hallucination. It's the body being shut down, and the mind being open, and the spirit being open to other realms. When I say other realms, I mean the spiritual realm, the spirit, the heavens. Okay, just for alternate terminology. So when you look at this, you see people doing all that stuff. Marijuana, calm themselves down. Marijuana is pharmakeia too. You need to get off the herb, okay? Just because they call it herb don't mean you're good for you, because poppy is a herb too, and that's where they get opium. Okay, just because y'all made plenty of herbs, that don't mean you should be taking it in that way. Use marijuana for herbal remedy, or eating it or something like that in small, medicinal quantities is one thing, and I really pray on that, because y'all put shrooms on the planet too. Don't make them good for you. Okay, you need to really monitor whatever's going to influence your mind, your body, and your soul, especially nicotine. Nicotine is definitely a drug, highly addictive, and some people find it harder to quit cigarettes than cocaine. Okay, so that stuff it opens you up to demonic influence or demonization. Okay, bottom line, your personality changes, all kinds of things change, and you make bad decisions. Okay, affects your memory and everything, especially marijuana. It's not good for you. I know a lot of Hebrews coming to the walk. Don't make the walk lawless. Okay, be careful for that. We have a law. Pharmakeia is outlawed. Leave marijuana alone as a smoking agent, and I will really be careful. I know it has a lot of medicinal remedies that can be attached for eating it and making oils out of it, but I would be very, very careful about your usage of it, so that you are not influenced spiritually, so that it opens you up to demonic influence. Because some people will be arguing with me right now, but think about it. That means you're probably addicted, and if you're probably addicted, you're probably being influenced by something right now, persuading you against it, persuading you against what I'm saying. Okay, now I'm not knocking the medicinal qualities that y'all put in marijuana. However, I would highly uh, I would highly recommend that you be extremely careful with any type of herb or drug that, leave drugs alone. Be highly careful with any type of herb that's going to influence your soul, your mind, your body, your spirit, in the way that marijuana and other drugs can. And yes, it's a gateway drug. That's real. People say, well, that's just what they want to tell people, because they don't want people to know it's herb. Meanwhile, you acting like you want the medicinal quality, and you sitting back puffing, having the time of your life, knowing you don't care about it for no medicinal qualities. You're doing it to feel good. Okay? And what you got to understand is that you're doing that to feel good. What happens is, sooner or later, you're going to want a bigger high. Okay? And it does open people up. It is gateway. Okay? You got to it's not a sin to be tempted, but it's a sin to fall in temptation. And why put yourself in temptation? Okay? Sometimes you can put yourself into temptation, and sometimes it's not just putting yourself into temptation. Sometimes it's opening a door. Okay? And marijuana is gateway drug. Sure, the Gentiles have called it that, but we have a law, and it agrees with the law. It opens a door to other drugs. Be very careful. Okay, now with the sugar, they recommend that toddlers should have none, but we have a law, and in our law it says that it is pharmakeia, it is witchcraft, because it does something to the brain. It releases plenty of endorphins and dopamine, and it has the particular response on the body that it actually behaves like poison. Sugar is actually a poison. Sugar can weaken the immune system by 80%. It stops phagocytosis for hours at a time. It can have terrible effects on the body. Not and it can cause your body to become acidic. When sugar is dumped into the bloodstream, the body becomes acidic. And so if you're a woman, this is particularly bad, because the body compensates by trying to use a mineral to alkalize or re-alkalize itself, such as calcium. So if you're a woman, or you are a man with bad teeth, what your body will do is suck the calcium out of your teeth and out of your bones and dump it in your bloodstream to try to re-alkalize your bloodstream, because it has become overly acidic. And this could be problematic for organs such as the kidney and possibly even the liver. Okay, and so you have to be very careful with this stuff. So with the when it comes to sugar, you know, it is in fact a drug. It has the same responses to as like hard drugs. The body has a similar response to sugar as it does to other hard drugs, and it has poisonous effects on the body. So the person might say, okay, I'm gonna cut it out my diet, and they have trouble in time cut out the diet. The Most High make that real easy for you. He said, don't do it. Bottom line, the Most High says, do not do it. Let it go. Do not participate in pharmakeia. He said, let it not be found amongst you. Where is it? In the KJV. KJV. Let's read it. I think we put it up there. Okay. KJV. Deuteronomy chapter 18. This is very important. Let's finish Deuteronomy chapter 18. Then she's going to continue talking on this. He said he makes it very easy for us. He tells us don't do it. And you cut sugar out your diet. It's not just looking, you got to look for added sugars. Plant sugars is one thing. That's fine. Just because it says they have grams of sugar on that nutrition table doesn't mean it's added sugar. Plant, like fruit sugars, is fine as long as it's not refined, extracted, and then re-added to a food that's added or refined sugars. Because somebody might say, well, you know, sugar is plant sugar too because it comes from sugar cane, but that does not make it okay. It's refined, it's extracted, it's assessed, okay? It's refined, it's extracted. So let's read that. It says, okay, 10, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10, there shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. That's the word. If I'm not mistaken, that's the word they translate as pharmakeia, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. That word actually means, when you look at the Hebrew, it actually means like like a wine skin, like a jug of animal skin. So the person becomes empty and just basically a flesh jar for a spirit. Okay, and it says, for all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahuwah. And because of these abominations, Yahuwah your Elohim does drive them out from before you. You shall be perfect with Yahuwah your Elohim. For these nations which you shall possess hearken unto observers of times and unto diviners. But as for you, Yahuwah your Elohim has not suffered you to do so. Yahuwah your Elohim will raise up unto you a prophet from the midst of you, of your brethren, like unto me. Unto him you shall hearken. Now this is a general prophecy and a specific prophecy. This is talking about every prophet that will come after Moses, but it's specifically referring to the Messiah. Okay? But you got to be real careful, because if a prophet is telling you to do sorcery, witchcraft, or divination, all that stuff, you got to be very careful. Okay? Because I don't think that prophet is from the Most High. Okay? Says, Yahuwah your Elohim will raise up unto you a prophet from the midst of you, of your brethren, like unto me. Unto him you shall hearken, according to all that you do desires of Yahuwah your Elohim in Horeb, or Horeb, in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahuwah my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire anymore, that I die not. And Yahuwah said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto you, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hear or hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. So you got to be careful. A lot of people question people. A lot of people want to give a bad name and quick to call somebody a false prophet. You ought to be very careful. You got to be careful to fear the prophets of the Most High, or else you be found liable to be required of, to be inquired of, that the Most High basically investigate you. So why didn't you hear my prophet? You got to realize our people were in Israel, and they disobeyed the prophets. They didn't listen to half of the prophets, and a lot of people think that because we're waking up now and because we're Hebrews and royalty and this and that we're different from, or that our people are very different from the people in ancient Israel. Well, no, it's not very different. There's still a lot of people slaying the prophets of the Most High. There's still a lot of people not wanting to hear the voice of the prophets of the Most High. Okay? And so a lot of people that will shoot down a real prophet, and they feel like they have look, be very careful. Okay? Okay. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other deities, well, basically idols, even that prophet shall die. And if you shall say in your heart, how shall we know the word of Yahuwah has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of Yahuwah, if the thing follow not nor come to pass, that is the thing which Yahuwah has not spoken, but the prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You shall not be afraid of him. Okay, what you got to understand about that word presumptuous, Zaid, okay? Presumptuous, it means like to boil. Like when Jacob was boiling Nazaid, basically of Adesh, the pottage of lentils is like a stew of lentils or something like that. He was boiling it or something of that sort. It means to boil up. It means to be like to be unruly, to be kind of arrogant and rebellious. And be careful with accusing people of pride, because I feel a lot of people who actually have pride in their heart see pride in other people, especially humble people that the Most High is blessed. And you have to be very careful, okay, before you just start attributing pride to somebody, that they be worthy of destruction. Okay, but be very careful. Okay, but when it means to be like rebellious, or to bubble up, or to be undecent, or be disrespectful and go beyond the bounds of what you're supposed to be going, to do more than what you were supposed to do. Okay, to not be led of the Most High, basically, and just basically be without restraint. Okay, like somebody just going around and making up stuff and saying, well, the Most High said do this, that, and that. And y'all gonna do it because I said so. I'm the prophet. And the Most High didn't say to do any of that. And it's just being outlandish without restraint. Okay? And disrespecting individuals based on what they're saying and doing, and not considering others. They is basically just doing it for control, a false prophet. Okay? So I had to go into that. The sister is going to go into more on sugar, and I just wanted to say the Most High makes it simple for us. Don't do it. You trying to diet, you trying to lose fat, you trying to cut off your sugar, and you feel like, oh, maybe I have a craving, I just want to. The Most High makes it easy for you. Don't do it. It's not a matter of just I want to be healthy. It's a matter of He said don't do it now, and now you know it has spiritual implications. So just don't do it. This will help your psychological well-being, your spiritual well-being. It will help your emotional well-being to get over something as small as sugar, and which is really big. And a reason why we're targeting sugar is because, one, we found this article. Two, the Most High impressed on it. Three, when I saw the behavior of my own children, I said we cut out all sugar, and then the Most High actually brought this article to us. I made that decision first because the Most High guided me. He basically caused me to pay attention to my son, and he was making all these strange movements. acting all crazy, all quick, because he had too much ice cream, and I thought it was good, decent ice cream because it had very few ingredients and no chemicals, and the only thing in it was just vanilla, sugar, and milk, and maybe a little water and salt or something like that. And so, but it had a lot of sugar. And then he put my eyes on it and told me, look at him. He basically guided me to look at him. I said, that's a drug addict. I'm not calling my son a drug addict, but what I'm saying is, when I looked at him, I saw the same thing I've seen in drug addicts. And then the Most High put it on my heart, no more sugar. No more sugar. And matter of fact, leave Western snacks alone, because they all cause this. You notice your children start fighting over the snacks, or begging for them, or crying and acting up and trying to force you to give them, trying to spank you with their tongue to give you a snack. I mean, for you to give them a snack. It's like, hold on. What are they putting in the stuff for them to act like this? Their behavior is not good. If it's good, it should produce righteous behavior in them. So why are they doing this? And so the Most High put my mind and my eyes on this. Then I said, okay, we cutting out all sugars. We're going to leave Western snacks alone. We're going to go with, dates and figs and honey and all the good things that the Most High gave us, especially in our own land. Peaches, apricots, stuff like that. What's another fruit? Pomegranates, that we like to eat. Good stuff, the Most High gave us in our culture to eat. We can leave their stuff alone. Dates and honey and figs is sweet enough on its own. Eat it enough, you'll acquire a taste for it. Unless you were forced to eat it as a child, and that's something you just don't want to eat. But that's the thing. I made this decision. The Most High guided me to make this decision, and I followed him, and I said that's what we're going to do. And then he sent this article as confirmation. So I'm really hitting on his heart, because the secret is that is the secret addiction in American society and in Western countries. The secret drug that has gone under the rug, under the surface, that's been swimming under the surface, that that few are seeing, is sugar. Sugar is the secret drug that you need to get off of if you want your soul to be clean for the Most High. And if you're on any other types of drugs, you need to get off of them. Okay? Watch out, for different things, okay? All right, you want to tell them some more?
Yes. But before I get back to the article, can I mention one thing about the drugs, the pharmaceuticals? Okay. Whenever you take pharmaceutical drugs, there's always a warning pamphlet in there that tells you of all the side effects. And you'll notice that most of these drugs have psychological side effects. They may cause depression, or they may cause thoughts of suicide, and the like, and lots of other negative psychological factors. And I think the brother is really onto something, that those are not just psychological, they're spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really, most people don't read those pamphlets that come with all these medications, but almost all of them have these types of warnings that this can happen, and that's further proof that this is spiritual. This is not from the Most High, and we know from Scripture, as the brother's been saying, that if it alters your mind, if it alters your spirit, that's something we're not supposed to partake in. But back to the article, remember, we're talking about added sugar. We're talking about sweeteners that are not found in food normally. So like you said, honey, dates, figs, your apples, your actual whole foods that are sweet, that's not what we're talking about here. And we know that eating added sugars has been associated with cavities, as most people would know, asthma, obesity, high blood pressure, and altered lipid profiles. As I mentioned before, we talked about the plaque in the arteries. It can affect all that. So let's talk about where, most people, when you ask them, do you consume a lot of sugar, are just going to tell you no. Unless they're chugging Cokes all day and scarfing down Snickers all day, they're going to tell you no. But you may be surprised that sugar is in almost all processed foods. In this article, most infants between the ages of 6 and 11 months consumed added sugars in flavored yogurt, baby snacks, and bakery products. Toddlers consumed added sugars in fruit drinks, candy, and baked goods. And they found that there was no difference in sugar consumption based on gender, income, or the education level of the head of household. However, they found a significant difference amongst the different races.
Hold on. Stop right there, please.
Okay.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. It's the secret drug underneath the surface. It's a drug that people do not know about. Everybody's consuming. Everybody's aware of. Well, not everybody's aware of. But it's the secret drug that people are consuming time and time again. And it's affecting people, and it's just going under the rug. And it doesn't have anything to do with your class, but it does have to do with race. And it is targeted more and more on certain ethnicities of people to get them to be more susceptible to certain diseases, so that they could be targeted with certain drug you know pharmaceutical drugs, so that they can basically assist their system, this wicked system, with finances. Okay, so when you think about it like that, it's the secret drug under the rug. You got to think about it. Y'all's people are sheep, and sheep are livestock. We are shepherds. We have livestock. The Most High has blessed us. Livestock have a sweet tooth. Cow, sheep, goat, they like sweet things. If you go to a feed store, what you'll see, a lot of the feed, they have some of the sweet feed is called sweet feed, because a lot of different livestock like sweet feed. You could buy, they have sweet feeds that have cow, sheep, goats, and horse on it. Okay, or really, I would say like cow, sheep, and goat on it. Livestock, particularly ruminants, kosher animals, they like sweet things. And so Yah's people are sheep. They're going to focus on that which is sweet. Okay, they like the sweet. That's why he promises a land full of milk and honey. Milk has sugar in it. It's called lactose. And honey is full of sugar. Okay, but these are good sugars. Okay, go ahead.
So what they found was that Asian toddlers consumed the least amount of added sugars, and they found it was an average of 3.7 teaspoons a day. However, Hebrew toddlers consumed the most added sugars at 8.2 teaspoons a day. Most of you don't have an understanding of what that means, but if you go get your measuring cups and your measuring spoons and actually spoon out 8 or 9 teaspoons, and ask yourself if you want your 2-year-old to consume that. So like I was saying before, if you ask those people, do you eat lots of sugar, they're going to tell you no. So we looked up some data on common foods that many would think are healthy, to tell you the sugar breakdowns of them, okay? Ketchup, for example. Very many children are allowed to put ketchup on all forms of food items. A cup of ketchup has 54.6 grams of sugar in it. Now remember, Scripture tells us don't eat it at all. It's Pharmakeia. But if you want a reference to what the Western world even says is okay, an adult female should only have 24 grams of sugar a day.
Which is a lot.
Which is a lot. And also remember I said earlier in the series, in the videos, that these recommended values are highly political. They're not just what you need to maintain ideal health. That's not where these values come from. There's a lot of litigation involved. There's a lot of lobbying involved by the food and beverage industry. So you have to take all of these recommendations with the wisdom of the Most High and take it to Him, because most of them aren't accurate. We know their recommendations for things like salt, sugar, and vitamin C are just not accurate. But that's just to give you a reference. 24 grams a day for an adult woman, 36 grams a day for an adult man, and there's 54.6 grams of sugar in 1 cup of ketchup. Okay?
Depending upon the brand.
Depending upon the brand, that's right. Tomato sauce tends to have 12 grams of sugar in a half a cup. If you're making spaghetti, if you all do something like that, most people are going to consume more than a half a cup of tomato sauce.
Depending on the brand.
Depending on the brand, of course. Barbecue sauces are known for high amounts of sugar. For example, Sweet Baby Ray's honey barbecue sauce has 15 grams of sugar in 2 tablespoons. That's 2 tablespoons is not a lot of barbecue sauce. Salad dressings, tomato sauces, Asian sauces are notorious for having lots of sugar. If you're eating General Tso's, sesame chicken, teriyakis, all of these are very sweet and contain lots of sugar. Even breads. That's one thing when we cut out sugar, we first noticed you had to look at the bread. Most breads have added sugar. For example, Thomas's plain whole wheat bagel, and people think of whole wheat as being healthier, has 7 grams of sugar in it. Peanut butter, 2 grams of peanut butter can have, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter can have 6 grams of sugar. And of course, it's going to vary by brand. It may have as few as 2, and there are brands out there that have no added sugar.
Does Kirkland's at Costco has no added sugar, right? I believe Kirkland's
so.
does. Smucker's has a Natural brand that has no added sugar. So I gotta say this. You may listen to this and be like, well, what in the world do we eat? The point is, you got to realize the blessings of Deuteronomy chapter 28 verses 1 through 14 says that we would be the head and not the tail. The curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28 verses 15 through 68, they basically make Israelites who are disobedient the tail and not the head. Well, when you're a head, when you are at in authority, you provide for yourself. You provide for yours. You're not dependent upon another people and another system. When like I said, the Most High gave me an acronym based on Proverbs 7:4. Says, "Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call understanding your close friend." Is called sis, that which means self-sufficient, independent, and self-sustaining. Okay, so when we talk about self-sufficiency, then you realize, hey, until you can get to that benchmark, you don't need to go eat at a restaurant or eat fast food, which fast food is terrible. Okay, depending on what you're eating. You don't need to go and eat, buy all this processed food and just throw it in the microwave or heat it up in the oven real fast and it's already ready made and processed, because they throwing all kinds of stuff in it, salt and fat and sugar, to try to make you get used to it. Nothing wrong with salt, but salt in excessive quantities is not okay, especially when combined with fat or sugar. We're not even supposed, Torah actually leads us not to eat the fat. The fat is for sacrifices. We're not supposed to be eating the fat or the blood. The fat is supposed to be, animal fat is supposed to be taken off. Our fats should be plant fats, like olive oil, okay, grapeseed oil, unless you're a Nazarite, which having been a Nazarite in the past, I'd be careful with grapeseed, because you don't know if a Nazarite is going to come to your house or not. Other vegetable oils, like coconut oil, palm oil, and stuff like that. These are supposed to be our sources of fat, and dairy. See, the problem is people eat animal fat, and Torah says us not to eat that. And so that animal fat combined with other types of food, you get too fat. But when you take all the animal fat out your diet, you kosher your meat, you boil in salt water, like the flesh pots of the temple, you boil it in salt water and then remove or wash it clean of all the blood and remove all the fat. You eat just pure meat, protein, unless you eat marbled meat, and you really want to eat lean cuts of meat and not marbled meats. Okay, and so so you want to eat lean cuts of meat. You eating that meat, you're not getting any animal fat, which is important, because animals, when they eat, or life forms in general, at least mammals, when they eat, if they encounter any toxins, one of the first routes of toxicity, is that what it's called? Routes of toxicity is that it's stored in the fat. Okay, the toxins are either excreted through urine, through feces, through sweat, or stored in the fat. Okay, and so when the body's dealing with toxins, it tries to release them either through the feces, the urine, or the sweat, or store it in the fat. Okay, and so you don't want to eat fat, animal fat, because of all that stuff. Animal fat, you can do other things with animal fat rather than consume it. Okay, for burning. But I'd be careful with burning animal fat. Okay, for various reasons. But what I'm just saying is that your fats, they should come from vegetables, or fruits like the olive. Okay, these are healthy fats for your body, and then when you realize is that you're just gonna have to